There are fruits, and then there's the mango. I mean, no other fruit carries quite so much memory, identity, argument, and childhood nostalgia packed into a single golden season. You know, ask any Indian about the first time they had a really good Alphonso or a chosa dripping down their fingers in the summer heat, and you'll get a story.
I think in India, the mango is not just any fruit. There's so much of emotion, a piece of our identity linked with mangoes. And I grew up in Delhi and going home to Punjab to our farm for the summer holidays. And now we live in UP. And the mango orchard that we have was planted by my grandmother-in-law. From my own memories from childhood, summer holidays and memories connected with mangoes. We still knew the langda, chosa, the seri. In UP, there are 600 or 700 varieties that are still being grown here. So there are varieties like Bambaiya, Husnara, Gulab Khas used to be Dadi's favorite. There's the Safeda, then there's the Jauhari Safeda, there's Sheher Kuppi. There's so many varieties. I could carry on for a day naming the...
That's Jyotsna Habibullah,
mango varieties.
the founder of Lucknow's Mango Festival. She's one of our guests in this episode. But the mango has moved well beyond the fruit bowl. It's in trade negotiations between Narendra Modi and Donald Trump. In fact, Indian mangoes were literally on the table as both sides negotiated tariffs this spring. Mangoes have been flying off the shelves in American supermarkets, selling for as much as $1,000 per box, according to some reports. Elsewhere, a paperwork error at a Mumbai irradiation facility triggered a diplomatic incident that sent $500,000 worth of mangoes to a landfill in Los Angeles. On Instagram and YouTube, mango influencers are doing blind tasting of Alphonso versus Kesar, racking up millions of views and earning brand sponsorship deals. Mango butter is going into luxury creams, mango powder into soaps, raw mango into dishwash powder. Somewhere in Lucknow, an entrepreneur is making mango kombucha all year out of frozen mango pulp. But then, in Malihabad and Ratnagiri, farmers have this year watched their flowers wither in unseasonal heat, making the mango, for all its glamour, a painful proxy for the impact of climate change on agriculture. So, in this episode, we ask 3 questions. Why, despite producing 40% of the world's mangoes, does India export less than 1% of what it grows? Who's actually making money across this vast supply chain and who's not? And what would it take to truly unlock the mango's potential? It's Tuesday, the 19th of May. I'm Anirban Chowdhury. This is The Morning Brief.
India is the largest producer of mango in the country, and India also occupies the largest area in terms of production in mango.
T Damodaran is the director at the ICAR Central Institute of Subtropical Horticulture, also known as the Mango Institute. Here's the good data from him.
We produce 23 million metric tons annually. That is accounting for 40% of the world's production. And also we occupy 42% of the world area under mango in the entire world. But even though we produce this much amount of mangoes, that nearly 85% of what we produce is going for our consumption because we have a huge market within ourselves.
And then here's the sobering stat.
Now here comes where we stand in the export scenario. Even though we are the largest producer, we are the just 4th largest exporter. That means the countries which produce less mangoes than us, they are the leading exporters. For example, Mexico followed by Brazil. They occupy the world's premium market, US and European Union. And though we produce, due to our, we can say, geographical location, less proximity to the premium markets, and also having a huge market demand in the domestic markets, we do not able to cater to the export requirements, which we have to do. Even though if you consider, as I told earlier, we have a surplus of 10 to 15% every year that is being produced. And these surplus, among these surplus, only less than 1% we are exporting. That means nearly 9 to 14% of the mangoes that can be exported are going as a waste or cannot be utilized for the real purpose where they should be utilized.
Dr. Damodaran, let me double click on this a little. Tell me where exactly are the cracks in the supply chain which leads to so much waste and us not utilizing the full potential of this fruit?
The most of the mangoes that are being exported, if you see in the country itself, they are from the southern India, especially our Kesar variety from Maharashtra and Maganpalli from Andhra Pradesh. These two varieties are predominantly export varieties. Alphonso, now it has started declining because of the spongy tissues problem. That means among the less than 1% what I told we are exporting, in that also 80 to 90% are being only these two varieties occupy the market, and these 3-4 states are occupying. Whereas if you see the country scenario in the production, Uttar Pradesh is the largest producer of mango in the entire country and it occupies the largest area. Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Bengal, Madhya Pradesh. If these 4 states are joined together, they go more than 5.5 lakh hectares area being occupied in mango. But unfortunately, due to the landlocked conditions and due to the lack of cold chain establishment, state of art of cold chain establishment, which we can say, we are not able to cater to the export market.
So clearly, beyond the celebratory social media posts about mango selling in Costco, there is massive wasted potential. Huge demand, not enough supply. To understand the details of it more clearly, I spoke to India's biggest mango exporter to the US.
My name is Kaushal Khakhar and I'm the CEO of KB Exports. We are a 38-year-old company. My father started the business and it's a family business in its true sense. But we try and run it in as professional a way as we can.
So Kaushal, can you give me some numbers around the growth of mango exports for the industry as well as for KB?
I think the largest markets for Indian exports for mango would definitely be Middle East. Not only do they have a very strong and a very sizable Indian diaspora, but they're also able to ship mangoes by sea to Middle Eastern countries. So price point is very, very economical. And that's why the market has really expanded very strongly in the last 10-15 years. The exports, however, to North America and Europe are, because of air freight, much lower in terms of numbers. Probably I would imagine around 5,000 to 8,000 tons for Europe and UK, and roughly around 4,000 odd tons for the North American market for now.
Got it. Now, you're projecting growth from 4,000 to 10,000 tons in the US in 7 years. What are the margins like where exports are concerned? I mean, there's a huge domestic demand also, but what's the difference? What are the margins like? Is it more profitable?
It is likely to be profitable because the air freight is such a large component. So let's say in a $30 box that the Indian consumer is paying, almost $18, $20 is air freight. So a balance is all other aspects of cost, like the mango itself, the irradiation cost, and the box packaging and others. I think if in a market which is, let's say, New York, New Jersey, it's hyper competitive and there are more people pumping product into those cities than maybe the cities can absorb. And then it may not be profitable for everyone. But there are some other more exotic cities which are not very well supplied. And those probably might earn better margins for Indian exporters.
What are your margins like, if you can share?
I think the industry standard is between 5 to 10%, and that's what we operate in as well. We are actually an air freight forwarding company as well. So because of our in-house air freight business, that 70% cost that I mentioned is managed much better than our competition.
I asked Kaushal if packaging and wastage are also issues.
So we would really use terminologies like post-harvest diseases, anthracnose and stem and rot are common problems. Also sometimes maturity. So sometimes people ship under mature fruit. So if you don't have skilled people in the business to grade, you may probably end up with some bad outcomes. And then of course the other thing is the logistics, because the US mango box is so complicated in its design. It's a completely closed box with no ventilation, because that is what the protocol says. And how to ensure that the mangoes don't spoil in that box is itself a big challenge.
So basically, exporting mangoes is a delicate science. Pick the fruit too early, grade it badly, or botch up logistics, and diseases can destroy entire shipments. And the US, with its rules for mangoes to be stuffed in tight, unventilated boxes, makes spoilage even more frequent. Another problem is something called irradiation.
So irradiation is a homegrown technology. Bhabha Atomic Research Center has been very at the forefront in driving this technology. All it does is essentially expose mangoes to a gamma ray dose of 400 gray, and that sterilizes the fruit fly and the stone weevil inside the mango. Then
in layman's language, what does it do? Sorry.
So there are pests in Indian mango which are of concern for the US. So Indian mangoes cannot go on their own to US unless they are treated. And the treatment effectively sterilizes the pests with a very low dose. And they are ultra low doses, quite fatal for the pest, but very, very safe for the consumers otherwise. And I think the US FDA has allowed irradiation as a post-harvest for a very, very long time.
Why then are the retailers reluctant?
For them, they feel that there is artificial intervention. So, for example, in global trade, if anything is sold organic, and if it is irradiated, then it ceases to be organic. Some of the very high-end retailers in the US, they have been a bit not so accommodating on irradiation as a technique. They want to focus only on mainstream products. But this problem is much more prevalent in some countries like Australia, or probably even Europe, because Europe still doesn't have an effective regulation on irradiation. US, largely, we don't have a problem. It is just that some very, very top-end retailers have hesitated to accept it.
Okay, that's exports. But are there problems in domestic supply chains also? I asked Dr. Damodaran.
Yeah, in domestic value chain also, if you see the southern India, the premium markets and retail networks, they're going for the very good quality fruits. Same way in the northern India also. Northern Indian mangoes are known to be very choicest mangoes because they go into the typical subtropical condition where they experience a stress before the flowering. That is a winter stress before the flowering. So the fruits that comes from here will be more tastier, sweeter, and add a good aroma compared to the other normal varieties that come from the other part of the globe or country. But these varieties, they are not able to capture even the domestic markets earlier because lack of adoption of good practices in the cultivation by the farmers who are adopting this.
So, in a nutshell, poor farming and post-harvest practices have kept even premium varieties of mangoes from fully capturing domestic markets. Another huge problem, in fact, quite obviously, the biggest problem, climate change.
Yeah, mango is highly sensitive to climate change because it is a natural phenomenon. For example, if it is a dasheri, if it is going to come into flowering, if it is a northern Indian mango like Chausa, Langra, whatever it is, if it is to come to flowering on the month of February 1st week to March 1st week, that means they should have a day temperature of less than 20 degrees Celsius and night temperature of 10 degrees Celsius. Below 10 degrees Celsius are harmful. But of late, there have been a lot of factors that is influencing. There is an extended low temperature period which goes up to February 20 or something. That means the flowering is delayed. Once the flower comes, immediately the temperature increases in the month of March. Like this year we witnessed in the April, the temperature went up to 42 degrees Celsius. That means a lot of pollination failures occurred so that though the flowering was good, the fruit set was very poor in most parts of the northern India. This was also common in the southern India also, like Kesar and Banganpalli also. Similarly, you see a change. The temperature in April should not at all go to 44 degrees Celsius, which this year it has occurred. And temperature in the May should come to 40 degrees Celsius to 44 degrees Celsius, where the fruit will develop and will be available in the markets before the rain by June. But what happens? Suddenly the climate has changed. Now it is not even crossing 40 degrees Celsius, which is needed for conducive development of the fruits. That means your fruits are going to come late into the markets. That means we need to develop technologies that are going to fight this climate change vagaries. If these things are adopted, surely at present we are exporting only 29,000 metric tons of fresh fruits, valuing about $55 million US. And pulp, we are exporting nearly 63,250 metric tons of pulp we are exporting, which is valued nearly about $80 million US. And that means just with less than 1%, we are gaining this much amount. That means imagine if you are going to increase it to 5%, how much foreign exchange you are going to get by this, and also clean fruit for the domestic market and farmers getting more price realization.
So, Delayed winters, extreme heat, and unseasonal rains are hurting flowering and fruit growth. Heat spikes above 42 to 44 degrees are causing pollination failures. On the other hand, summers that are cooler than usual are delaying mangoes from reaching markets on time. And you know what? Climate-resilient farming would change all this and unlock massive potential. Which brings us to farmers. Most of them, in fact, are acutely aware of the problems that the vagaries of worsening climate conditions pose. But there are other problems too. My colleague Forum Gandhi spoke to several mango cultivators across the country. Here's a voice from Western India.
मैडम, मेरा नाम संतोष नथुराम पटेलकर है और मैं तालुका देवगढ़, डिस्ट्रिक्ट सिंधुदुर्ग, गांव कोटकामटे से बोल रहा हूँ। मेरा आम का खेती है और ये जो आम की वैरायटी है वो पूरी अल्फांसो हापुस आम की है और मेरे 1000 पौधे हैं।
तो आप मुझे बता सकते हैं पहले के मुकाबले आज के समय में आपकी सबसे बड़ी चैलेंजेस क्या है?
हवामान में जो बदलाव होते हैं यही हमारा सबसे बड़ा चैलेंज है। एक तो ज्यादा बारिश इस साल हो गई थी, लगभग 6 महीने मतलब 5 महीने और 20 दिन तक लगातार बारिश होती रही। दूसरी बात है कि जो सर्दी ठंडी होती है वो भी बहुत दिन चली। ये दूसरा रीजन है। और तीसरा रीजन है जो कोहरा होता है, तो मैडम वो अप्रैल महीने में बहुत आ गया था। बहुत मतलब इतना कि सुबह के 7 बजे जैसे बारिश का पानी गिरता है वैसा वो पानी गिर रहा था कोहरे का। तो उसके कारण वो फूल भी जल गए, तो उसके कारण बहुत नुकसान हो गया।
तो पिछले साल की फसल के हिसाब में आपका इस साल कितना सड़न होता है? और एवरेज, ऑन एन एवरेज मतलब हर साल की मतलब इतना तो सड़न होता ही है आपकी फसल में, तो क्या आप मुझे आप बता सकते हैं?
2024 में मेरा 5000 क्रेट का प्रोडक्शन हुआ था, लेकिन इस साल मेरा सिर्फ 1000 क्रेट भी नहीं हुए अभी तक।
और क्रॉप इंश्योरेंस आपने लिया था?
हाँ, लिया है ना मैडम।
ओके, तो उससे आपको कोई मदद मिलती है?
अभी तक तो इस साल तो कोई मिली नहीं है।
तो आपको पिछले साल मिली थी क्या?
पिछले साल एक तो थोड़ा बहुत मिली थी। लेकिन वो जो मिली थी वो पिछले साल की नहीं थी। 2024 में बीच में बारिश हुई थी, उसके कारण जो नुकसान हुआ था वो पिछले साल मतलब 25 को मिला था।
अच्छा, और क्या आप मुझे बता सकते हैं कि जैसे लोकल ट्रेडर्स हैं जिनके वजह से मतलब जो होलसेलर्स है, जो मिडलमैन जिनको हम कहते हैं, उनके वजह से आपकी फसल का सही दाम मिल जाता है आपको कि आप डायरेक्टली बेचते हैं? आप कैसे करते हैं?
वो कम मिल रहा है क्योंकि मैडम आज ही मैंने जानकारी ली है मेरे दोस्तों से। आज पुणे मार्केट में कम से कम 800 से 1200 रुपए पर डजन से आम बिक रहे हैं, जो प्राइवेट मतलब डायरेक्ट बेच रहे हैं फार्मर। और अगर हम एजेंट को भेज दिया तो 800 से 1200 रुपए 5 डजन का रेट हमें मिलता है।
ओके, तो मतलब
5 डजन का रेट और 1 डजन का रेट एक जैसा हो गया।
ये मार्केट में बहुत फेक अल्फांसोस भी आ रहे हैं, राइट?
हाँ।
तो उसकी वजह से आपको किस तरीके की दिक्कत पड़ती है?
मैडम, आज जो रेट में जो गिरावट हुई है उसका सबसे बड़ा रीजन मैडम ये जो हापुस के नाम से जो दूसरा आम बेच रहे हैं वो मैडम सबसे मतलब 100% मैडम उनका ही रीजन है। क्योंकि हमारा जो अल्फांसो का नाम हमने कमाया है उसको कमाने में मैडम हमारे 3 पुरखे गई है। तो उन्होंने अगर अपना ब्रांड है तो वो खुद बनाना चाहिए, वो हमारे नाम से क्यों बेच रहे हैं?
Santosh talks about 3 problems: the role of middlemen and commission agents who squeeze farmer margins, the spread of fake Alphonso mangoes that dilute brand value and consumer trust, and most critically, crop insurance. You see, climate damage is often difficult to assess accurately, and many farmers struggle to prove losses to the insurers, and so they fail to receive timely payments. In a nutshell, cultivators bear most of the risk while earning only a fraction of the final retail price. Here's Forum with another farmer.
मेरा नाम है मेघराज शिवपुरकर और मेरे ब्रांड का नाम है मेघराज मैंगो। हमारे पास जो स्पेसीज है वो अल्फोंसो मैंगो है, मतलब रत्नागिरी अल्फोंसो मैंगो है। मैं जब बीटेक एग्रीकल्चर इंजीनियरिंग किया मैंने और मैं पास आउट हूँ अभी पिछले साल में। तो मैं अभी करंटली मेरा जो फैमिली बिजनेस है वो रन कर रहा हूँ।
क्या आप मुझे समझा सकते हैं कि हर साल सबसे बड़े चैलेंजेस क्या होते हैं आपके लिए?
तो चैलेंज फर्स्ट इज लेबर, तो हमारे पास अभी जो लोकल के लेबर्स हैं वो लोग सब अभी मुंबई और पुणे में शिफ्ट हो गए जॉब की वजह से। तो हम लोग अभी नेपाल से लेबर बुलाते काम करने के लिए, फिर भी वो उनकी जो डिमांड रहती है और मार्केट में जो आम का जो प्राइसिंग का इशू है वो उसकी मतलब मैच करके उसके जो खर्चे मतलब हमने जितने एक्सपेंस किए हैं उस प्रोसेस पे उतना निकल रहा नहीं है। तो फिर वो हमारे सामने लेबर का सबसे बड़ा जो चैलेंज है लेबर का ही है, क्योंकि मैंगोज के लिए स्किल्ड वर्कर लगते हैं।
ओके और आप मुझे बता सकते हैं कि जैसे आपने मुझे बताया था स्टार्टिंग में कि आप अभी 1-2 साल से आपने डायरेक्ट कस्टमर्स को देना स्टार्ट करा है। तो आप मुझे समझा सकते हैं कि ये आपने क्यों करा और आप क्या पहले आप लोकल ट्रेडर्स के पास जाते थे, होलसेलर्स के पास जाते थे और आपने क्यों डिसीजन लिया कि आपको खुद ही करना ही है?
मेरे जो फादर थे तो वो हमारा फैमिली बिजनेस है, तो वो पहले जो लोकल ट्रेडर थे उनके पास पहले जाते थे, पर वो लोग क्या करते थे आम का जो रेट है वो एकदम से गिरा देते थे। उसकी वजह से जितना भी हमारा खर्चा होता था उससे कम ही हमको इन रिटर्न में मिलता था। तो बाद में अभी मैंने मार्केट स्टडीज की तो अभी मार्केट में एक अदर स्टेट का मतलब कर्नाटक का हापुस ज्यादा हापुस मतलब रत्नागिरी हापुस के नाम पे बेचा जा रहा है। दूसरी बात यह है कि ज्यादा से ज्यादा मार्केट वाले जो आम रहते हैं उसमें केमिकल यूज किया जाता है, तो केमिकली रेपन मैंगोज एंड कर्नाटक की मैंगो उसकी वजह से मार्केट पूरा डाउन हो गया है। तो उस क्राइसिस में मैंने एक आइडिया निकाला कि क्यों ना हम लोग डायरेक्ट फार्म टू कस्टमर अगर हमारा एक कनेक्शन हो जाए तो कस्टमर को जो ओरिजिनल हापुस है या ओरिजिनल जो अल्फोंसो है उसकी टेस्ट उनके डोर स्टेप तक जाएगी, तो वो ज्यादा कन्वीनियंट होगा।
Well, like Meghraj's story shows, it's not all gloom and doom. Here's Dr. Damodaran.
If you say into the Uttar Pradesh alone, if you go into the western Uttar Pradesh, there the area is big area, land holdings are there with the farmers and they are economically stable. And because Chowsa is having a big market, they give good rates and more traders invest on that. Even some farmers are earning crores with their mango orchards. Same if you come to the southern India, Maharashtra segment where Kesar is being grown, the farmer average for 1 hectare is net profit alone goes to 5 lakhs to 6 lakhs minimum, I'm telling. There are farmers who are earning about 35 lakhs, 40 lakhs. But if you come into the Dasheri belt, into the UP Maliabad belt, Lucknow, Hardoi, your Sitapur and other things, it's a mixed status where the farmers are not able to release that much profit because the productivity is also very low. It is just 6 to 8 tons per hectare. Now we have to switch to the startup and a PPP mode. We created a startup in the place of production. That means the farmer should have access to the good quality inputs near his place. Then only the change and transformation can occur. And we looked in a lot of startups in between that so that larger areas can be converted.
Sir, can you name some of the startups?
Like we have one Meta Agro, which we created. We have 24 startups with us. And they revolutionized the mango fruit bags in this part of the country. Earlier, the farmer used to procure bags only from the southern part. It used to come from the Andhra. And they used to wait, they used to dictate the prices, everything. So we looked in the startup, we made the government to go them for supports to them, and they approached the government supported them. They established and they started producing the bags. Now this year more than 5 crores bag they have already sold, and they are procuring the input for producing now.
Like startups, there are people who have figured out how to make the mango do more. Jyotsna Habibullah, whom you heard at the beginning of the episode, started the Lucknow Mango Festival 15 years ago in collaboration with UP's tourism and horticulture departments. She came to it through a conversation with the director of the same institute with Damodaran now heads. That gentleman asked her, of all things, for marketing advice.
The director at that time, Dr. Ravi Shankar, when we were talking to him to get inputs on how to improve our orchard, he asked me to advise him on how we could market the mangoes better. And so I came up with this concept, how we have fruit festivals all over the world and mango festivals. Why not a mango festival here? So the idea was to bring together the tourism department, the horticulture department, the public-private partnership where we involved local entrepreneurs, the Hotel and Restaurant Association, involved everybody really. So the idea was to bring people to mango orchards to help increase the incomes of orchard owners and have this as a cultural event that promotes the local craft, the local food, and helps the local economies to grow.
Right. And how have you done that? Let's go micro. Let's take the annual income of a small mango farmer in Barabanki. How has that changed since the festival started?
So, for example, if we look at the orchard where we are doing the festival this year, so this is a small orchard called Vintage Village. And father and son, they run this orchard. And he started his ecotourism resort close to the time that we started the festival. And we've been taking people back to his orchard. Now, what happens is that apart from, of course, the fact that they're able to sell mangoes directly to consumers at a higher price because they are selling directly, they have the income of the orchard visit, which we've developed this whole orchard tour visit. That amount goes directly to the farmer. So, for example, they could make up to 50,000-60,000 just for a weekend of a mango visit, where you have 200-300 people from a city visiting the orchard, right? And that's just a one-time event. So the idea is that any farmer should be able to replicate and do this and increase their income.
How many farmers have you been able to help with this festival?
So when we have been doing the festival over the years, we've had hundreds of farmers who bring their mango produce to actually sell their produce. So those are hundreds of farmers that we've been able to help from that perspective. From the perspective of farmers, where we take people to the orchard, we do 1 or 2 visits a year. So over 15 years, it would be about, say, 20 or so orchards. But the idea that we want to do is really to allow anybody to replicate this.
Right. Got it. Now, mango products are, this is a huge segment, right? From pickles to beauty products to ice cream to, I think you even said, did you say soap or detergent?
Yes. Apart from soap, yes, the most exciting product is the raw mango dishwash powder.
Correct. So how big can this processing side get? And where's the money coming from? Who's investing in it?
It's basically this value addition sector, which is a sleeping giant in UP particularly, where we don't have a lot of food processing. But the very exciting thing is now we started collaborating with Maaza when we started the festival. Now this year, the Seri mango pulp is actually going to go into Maaza, because earlier when one of our local milk producing companies wanted to launch mango lassi and mango yogurt, they had to get their mango pulp from Maharashtra. Now we've got mango powder going into mango soaps, mango butter going into mango creams. There's an amazing entrepreneur who's making mango kombucha. So he's frozen the mango pulp and basically he can make the kombucha year round.
So Jyotsna, tell me, how can we build a year-long sustainable cycle for mangoes and of course mango cultivators in India?
Okay, that's exactly the sort of focus area that I've developed over the last few years, because agritourism is such a wonderful, I think it can be an economic cushion for the farmers, because the actual mango season is such a short few weeks in the summer. Turning a beautiful mango orchard into a year-round sort of agritourism and educational hub. We've got examples in other parts of the country also. This year is Vintage Village in Sitapur. There's also Jaya Mishra runs an amazing farm in Saharanpur called Abhyayaran. They take schools for biodiversity visits, colleges, corporate building events, showcase the local craft and the food. So obviously that's something which shows how sustainable livelihoods can be created at the rural level. Of course, the local farmers, they have mud house stays, they have beekeeping, they have organic vegetable farming, jaggery production. They're offering things like yoga retreats in the winter, monsoon photography treks, organic farming workshops. So it's really exciting to see that even where the small farmers don't have the capacity to build these tourism resorts, how we can have a collaborative model where multiple small orchard owners can pool in to create sort of a shared community farm stay. So that's something that I'm working on.
The mango shows us the best of Indian agriculture. The extraordinary biodiversity, the cultural depth, the quiet ingenuity of farmers going direct to customer, festival builders turning orchards into economies, but also every structural shortcoming that keeps that potential locked away. But Dr. Damodaran is positive. He points to mango clusters being built across UP in collaboration with state governments. 4,200 farmers in the Maliha belt alone getting capacity building, biological inputs, bagging technology, and direct-to-access buyers from Lulu Group and Reliance Retail. Bagging mangoes has been a problem, but adoption in UP went from 2,500 bags a year to 12 crore this year. ICAR has developed pruning technology that brings 60-foot trees down to 14 feet, making safe, quality harvests economically viable for the first time. A policy document submitted to the Niti Aayog is pushing mango into the Viksit Bharat 2047 agenda with a clear target: take exports from less than 1% to 5%. The solutions exist, the technologies are ready, the government for once is listening. What remains is the hardest part: scale, speed, and a climate that may not wait. That's it for today. You were listening to this episode on The Morning Brief. It was produced by me, sound designed by Indranil Bhattacharjee. Keep listening to The Morning Brief wherever you get your podcasts. Stay tuned.